We are at the Proto Makerspace, and we're looking at Evarista Ramos's Blacktooth laser cutter and engraver that we sold him quite a while ago, actually, and he's about to do a test on it of an image of something he's put in Corel Draw, and it's essentially his logo. And he actually did some modifications to his machine, which includes he installed a different type of controller, which is the standard controller that you can use with different software. And it also comes with a controller that you can move from the actual machine itself, and has quite a bit of features that also includes the intensity of the laser. So let's take a look at the running of the machine. Okay, here's the results from the Blacktooth laser lasing.
And then I can get the laser fire to actually mark on a piece of paper. We're located in North Houston, in the Spring, Texas Woodlands area. We're right off of Interstate 45, across from the ExxonMobil campus.
Yep, right where the Hardy and 45 meet.
I wanted to open, I was looking to get more area for a lot of my machines and to start them possibly on my robotics projects. And so my interest in starting a place was so people would be able to use the equipment when I was not in town, because I traveled quite extensively because of work. And the secondary purpose for me opening the makerspace is so we can find creators or people that are, number one, don't have a way to access to the tools, or maybe need some direction to creating their project. And it serves a secondary purpose for me, so I can find people who are possibly making the electronics or the software that I need for the internal project. Since I do quite a few Kickstarters and quite a few side projects, or funding side projects for different creators. And so at the moment my primary focus is not so much on hardware, as finding software programmers and finding software systems. And so this gives us a vehicle now, so we can have people to come possibly and help them from that standpoint.
For me, I realized that I'm not going to be able to own every tool out there, but I wanted to have a way to get lots of people together with lots of different interests, and I knew they would have things that I don't have, and we could all learn together better. And I'd heard about the makerspaces downtown and visited them, and they're awesome, but they're just an hour away, and so I'm like, we got to have something that's closer. So that was my motivation.
I was primarily researching locations so I could rent some space to move all of the equipment. And so I looked into moving possibly out of Houston and looking at the different makerspaces that are available here in Houston. And so I came back from one of my work trips, and I started meeting with the local groups in the North Houston area, trying to find a group that was somewhere along the process of trying to establish a place, so maybe I could get with them, or we could open a place in partnership. So out of the couple of groups, Andrew's Idea Lab group seemed to be the most forward and the most wanting to get a place started up immediately. And so that's kind of how, on our part, we got this, we started looking for a location and got this makerspace started.
So my background is in health data analytics, and I teach data analytics for Southern New Hampshire University online. And but I love sort of doing engineering, personal projects and stuff. And we moved here from Vermont last year, and I had built a lot of stuff. I built a studio and added onto the house and all kinds of stuff on my own. And when I got here, didn't really have a space to do that. And I was like, well, you got to kind of scratch that itch for making things. And so that's sort of my earlier motivation for starting the makerspace. So in about, I guess it was February, I started this Google group for people who would be interested in starting a North Houston or this area makerspace. And I ended up getting like 15 or 20 people interested in that. And so I started scheduling events, and we had this 3D printing event that Shane Hooper presented his printers, and his subtractive and additive manufacturing processes that he does professionally. And that's where I met Rue and Nancy. And they were ready to go. Rue said, you know, at some point, you gotta do it,
Yep,
right?
gotta
You can't just
decide.
talk about it forever. You gotta decide and do it. And I was like, okay, I'm there. We got the money, let's do it.
Yep.
And so it went from there. That was mid-July. And things happened pretty quickly after that.
I think we opened officially on August 11th, I think it was.
Yeah, but that from mid-July until we opened on the 11th was a solid month of looking at places, and I mean, we looked at a lot of places.
Mhm.
It was hard to find this place.
So we wanted, in looking at, I guess, at the machines available for the members, we wanted them to have a little bit access to the ability for subtractive manufacturing and additive manufacturing, which would be the CNC. And so Andrew has a 2x4 CNC, and I've just started a rebuild project on the Shapeoko so we can have a little bit smaller CNC for a little bit more detail work. And so that will take care of our subtractive manufacturing. And then for our additive manufacturing, we have, he started a 1.75 millimeter 3D printer build. We've got a couple of smaller, also 3D printers, and a larger 3 millimeter printer bots. So this way we can prototype, or you can build parts very quickly. And so that takes care of kind of our additive. And we also have the black tooth laser cutter from Buildyourcnc. And so I think at this point heavily modified it to try and get it to what we need for the space, and also to try out some other different technologies along with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have some other technologies coming. We have a couple of Delta printers, we have a resin printer, and we have some smaller laser diode machines that are coming. And so, and we have a vinyl cutter. So we try to have a good mix of different machines that can be used in all kinds of different areas. So this way, anyone from let's say from an artist to maybe a person who writes books, who wants to do, you know, some basic printing, or they want to try and do some layout, they can try it different ways if they want to maybe bind their own book instead of going to a traditional route of having a book binder, or going through a manufacturing process.
We have 3D scanning, all kinds of computers and software for design, a wood shop, a full electronics shop, a glass shop, and there must be other stuff that I'm forgetting.
Yeah.
Welders,
Welding.
so we can do metal, wood, I mean, all the basic materials, all the basic stuff.
Right. We have a wide range of different radio technologies available, from Bluetooth to all of the available frequency spectrum here in the U.S.
Okay. When you're assembling the machines here, you didn't assemble the Blacktooth, but you did do some modifications.
Correct.
But you did do some very sort of intense scratch build for the CNC, and then you're doing an assembly for a kit, the Shapeoko.
This is a
How
complete
is that
rebuild.
process? How do you feel that process is? Would you have rather bought the machine whole, or do you enjoy the process of building the machine as a kit? Yeah, share your thoughts on that.
I personally like building the machines from scratch because it shows me more on the mechanical, how the mechanical engineering works. It also helps me in the future in case something breaks. I'll know exactly how the machine's put together. And generally, machines are to the point nowadays where once you've learned it one way when you're building it, you can pretty much take that information and you can either scale it up or scale it down based upon what you need to work on or what you need to fix. So, like an example on the CNCs. So once you've learned how the steppers and the pulleys work, or the belt systems work, then you can take that to all kinds of other different machines and all kinds of other industries. And so I kind of see that as us having those types of machines here, letting people work on that, and that kind of gives them another tool or another skill that maybe they can turn into helping themselves out financially, or just maybe they'll come up with an idea so they can make a modification to the machine, or maybe their own design of the machine.
Okay.
Yeah, the number one reason why I scratch built that CNC was cost, because I built that thing for, I guess, about $700 compared to buying one for $2,000, $3,000 or more. So is it alright if I ask you a question
Sure.
about like the feedback that you've gotten from other people? Because I've never taught to any other person who's built a CNC.
Mm-hmm.
I talk to other people who have CNCs, but not someone who actually I mean, I suppose I have talked to you, but I didn't talk with you about your experience in building the thing. So what kinds of people do it?
Well,
all kinds of people?
We are unfortunately biased because we only really get to talk to the people that really want to do the kits, because we only sell kits. We do have one machine that is assembled now, but so we don't get the feedback that the other side of the market. We don't really get that feedback, but we have gotten some. I would say that obviously the majority of the people that we talk to, they love the assembly of the machine, and they are doing exactly for the reasons you said.
Yeah.
We get a lot of people a lot of teachers and a lot of students that put these machines together. In the education or the academic side of things, they're really blown away with how much they learn through just the assembly of the machine, and they could actually put a curriculum around that. I'm going to go back to something that sparked in my mind when you were talking about the resources in your company. What demographic and what age groups and genders and whatever you can think about you're trying to attract to this makerspace?
I think the age range we're kind of looking at, because we have another partner, Nancy, and we have a program that we're starting, Proto Makerspace Kids, and so we can even go as young as 4 years old to start teaching them some basic tools and some basic, these blocks go together, or if you want to stack, to make a structure. And so we have some classes like that we're getting structured that we want to start giving for people, and probably from there, just whatever. We don't have a max age range, so it would be a matter of what does the individual want to try and learn, or what are they interested in trying to do. And as far as gender, at least on my part, I would like to get more females involved in the engineering aspects and the programming aspects, because from all of my years of being in various industries, I see that that's a very small percentage of usually the technical people that are available. Mm-hmm. Things have gotten better over the decades, but they're still not a very large percentage. And so we try and look at different events that we can maybe possibly be a part, or we can try and get that kind of interest. And so we've done a couple of Kickstarters now where we're trying to get established, and maybe starting like a female engineers group, or a female engineers local group that we can get, maybe meeting in our space. Or one of the things we haven't done yet, because we've been so busy working on the infrastructure, is reaching out to maybe the local schools, public and private, and try and get them aware that, okay, there is a location here, and we are willing to host different groups, and that we're interested in getting children learning about the machines, and learning about the software that's necessary to run those machines.
Or other aspects like maybe robotics or things like that.
And so all of these machines, you can create the building blocks, so you can do like the robotics, or if they want to do, let's say they want to do a fertilizer system to feed their plants, so this would give them the structure. Well, the machine moves this way, so how do I change to make this other action happen that I want to happen?
Yeah, I'd like to come back and have a follow-up interview after you've gotten the infrastructure settled, and then we're able to reach out to other groups and see how that worked out.
Okay.
For our grand opening, he's not too happy about this, but we had a bunch of activities out, and it was just a total impulsive, spur-of-the-moment thing. I went and grabbed one of the old pieces of equipment that we had downstairs. I guess, what was it, some kind of a printer? Yeah. And I put it over there, and I put a sign on it that said, "Take this thing apart." And that actually was one of the the kids, the junior high age kids, girls and boys, were over there with screwdrivers and pliers and everything, taking that thing apart, just to see what was inside of it. It had all these old capacitors and all kinds of stuff in it.
Huh.
But by the end of the day, that thing was scattered in pieces.
Because generally people don't build things anymore. You go.
They like to take it apart. They
want to see what's inside of it, or they want to know, well, how does this work? And those kind of skills aren't really taught anymore. A lot of our high schools and junior highs, they don't have a metal shop. They don't have woodworking anymore, because everybody's decided that, it's too dangerous. And so part of our idea here is, well, we have the machines available here. We have people with skills, so this way people can be comfortable coming with their child, or even themselves, and learning, okay, how do I learn this? How do I use this, circular saw? How do I use this table router properly? and so this way they can make their own things instead of okay, I have to go searching to find something that kind of fits what I'm looking for.
So you're thinking that since the schools don't have shops and the metalworking anymore, that this could actually fill a gap.
Right.
Okay. Good.
And historically, recently that's pretty much what makerspaces have been filling in that gap now, and that loss from the school system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all about the skill. We have this little simple plastic robot arm, not a DIY. This is like you bought it at Toys R Us or something kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this little boy here who walked up to it and said, "How does this work?" I'm like, "I don't know. You got to figure it out." And within 5 minutes, he had it figured out. So it's like that. It's experiential learning.
Right. Yeah. And they don't get that anywhere else.
No, so we have different levels. So we have things that if they break it or it doesn't work, not a big deal. And then we also have the other side where we have a much higher level of equipment or much higher precision equipment where once people do understand the technology and the engineering in it, then we can tailor that. We have equipment to do that for them here.
Tell me about your memberships and fees, and have you thought about that?
Yeah.
To any extent? Okay.
So we have a $50 per month membership level, and that gives you access on our currently open times, which are Thursdays evenings, Friday evenings, and then all day Saturday. And then the rest of the time we're closed. We're close to the general public, but we're open for the members. So this way, if the members have a project they need to work on, it gives them specific time. Generally, we're all floating between the three of us. We're always floating in and out of the location.
Okay.
So being open more hours is not an issue.
Yeah, and we'll eventually open our general hours with more members.
And do they get a key, or is it just open? Somebody's here for them to be
Somebody's here during our open
supervised,
hours.
I guess. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you provide any training on the actual machines themselves?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's say someone came with knowledge of how to use something. I just want them to demonstrate that they could use it safely.
Okay. Right.
We haven't moved into formalized classes quite yet for people to come, but that's on our short list to be able to do.
Okay. So do you plan on certifying them on their machines, or?
Yeah, that's another side project that we're looking into. Andrew's been working on a system so we can have like a web login.
Mm-hmm.
So this way, if people register there and they get certified at any of the worldwide makerspaces, and as we can get more makerspaces to join in it, then we can say, okay, like let's say at 10-bit in San Antonio, I learned how to use their laser cutter, and so I understand what materials and things I can do. So once they're registered into that system, they can come here. We can see who they are. Then we say, okay, yeah, you've already been previously checked out for a laser cutter, or you're previously checked out for this type of woodworking equipment, and so they'll have that information will be available for everybody. So that's a system we're looking into trying to build.
It's like a passport system, and the reasoning for that is the makerspaces are rare enough that they're so far apart, but we really should be working together more, right? I mean, everybody wants to have a laser cutter and everybody wants to have this, but there might be some equipment that some places have and other places, like Houston Makerspace downtown has a nice jewelry shop. I would love to duplicate that, but that's probably years away. Why isn't there a way that their people could come up here and use some of our stuff and our people could go down there? So this is kind of a gateway to letting people share among different makerspaces.
Mm-hmm. You were making reference to another person that's in the house, Katie Makerspace, founder, and we'll be talking with him in the future interviews as well. Okay. Hopefully that was focused when I did that. Okay, give me your view on profit versus non-profit, and what are you establishing for this makerspace?
So we're a for-profit, and the reason we decided not to go for a non-profit status is because it gives us the ability to make decisions a lot quicker, and it gives us the ability to change what our focus is on various projects that we would like to work on, and we're not having to wait for a group of people to, number one, get together, and then number two, reach a consensus on moving towards a particular direction. And it also gives us the ability to as separate individuals, we're working together to say, no, I want to work on this project. And so that still gives us our individuality. And luckily, so far, all of our projects have been fairly complementary. So
I don't think
an issue at the moment.
The for-profit thing is kind of we're incorporated, is how I think of it. I don't think of it as for-profit, because we didn't do it in order to make a profit.
Right.
We did it because it allowed us to be really agile. Like, we could go and we could make our decisions among ourselves and just sign the lease, do this, buy the equipment, paint the walls, right? We weren't going through committee I've seen, and it's not a bad way, but I've seen other makerspaces go through a really long period of soliciting donations and trying to get interest and
get started.
And a long period of getting started. And so, I mean, I was willing to do that. I didn't really want to do that because I knew that between us we had enough money that we could just get started, get the space and do it. So that's. I mean, we had our LLC in 2 or 3 days. You just register with the Secretary of State and it's done.
And you don't have to have a board guiding you.
No.
So what are your future plans and equipment that you are looking at getting?
Equipment.
I guess that's a two-part question. I mean,
Yes.
future plans may not have anything to do with equipment.
Future plans are, once we get a few of the more machines that are currently in process of being delivered, is to try and help people get started on their projects and help people who may be looking at starting a product and kind of become an incubator for them. Because I feel lots of people have different ideas on how to do things, but they don't necessarily know, how do I get started? Being from, okay, this is the way it needs to look, to how do I make the software do this, or how do I make a set of mechanical linkages, or how can I make this mechanically happen? And so that's what we want to be able to do, is be able to have them prototype, which kind of leads us into our name for the Proto Makerspace. And Proto means beginning, or the first of. And so we want to be the place where people come and, this is where you do your first initial designs. This is where you make your first steps. And our idea is we want to help you along that process. We want to get you started. And maybe at the end of the day, we step out of whatever you're trying to do, but, we helped you get started. Or you knew that there's a place for you to come get started. And really, we didn't have that here in the north part of Houston. And so that was the other impetus. That was our main impetus of trying to get this place open as quickly as we could.
Yeah, I think in addition to hobbyists and individuals, I want to be a resource for small businesses to do rapid prototyping and just getting their ideas into a 3D form and working through that process. Me, Rue, other people who have knowledge of how 3D design works and can just come on one of our open house nights and just talk with us about their idea. I'd like to be a resource like that.
Now, the idea of that you want to be prototype, having the equipment to facilitate prototyping here, that also leaves a lot to desire when it comes to machinery and processes. So what do you have plans in acquiring or getting here that will help them, other than 3D printers that you've already talked about, and a laser machine and CNC machines?
Right, so we have the ability to reflow circuits, and so between the various machines that we have here, we can create solder masks. Very shortly, we should have the ability for them to etch their own PCBs, which is partly from the Shapeoko with the small mill, and also be able to do a photo, doing it the old school style with the photo UV light.
That's only one piece of equipment. We've got like 400 things that we're going to get. So.
Right.
Yeah.
And what are they?
Yeah, all right.
They're on their way.
I'm going to build something that's like a green lean, and build the big 4x8 wall-mounted CNC, but I'm going to build it so that it can do a little more than that, so that I can mount a plasma head on it, cut plasma.
So I've been researching
plasma cutting with it as well, but
so
also.
Where did you get the idea of doing a vertical apparatus like that?
Space, I think.
I have to answer honestly. I thought of it myself because we don't have space, but then I did see yours on your website and was like, oh, it's going to be a design very much like that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to build the frame on my own, But then when I get to the gantry, I'm going to be coming to you and trying to figure out how to...
So I'm a very big believer that we live in a 3D world. We should take advantage of the 3D space.
Yeah.
So
I'd have a ceiling.
We don't take advantage of all of the space that we have to our ceiling, and
No.
we should be taking advantage of that.
Yes, we
absolutely. Any other comments you'd like to make? You know, is there anything else you can think of?
Yeah. Well, I have to talk about equipment more, because one other thing, a dream, is to make moka megane. I don't know if you've heard of moka megane. It's fused. It's 2 different or more types of metal that have been fused in an oven, cut and formed. So it's like the Damascus steel or Japanese swords for jewelry making.
Go for it.
Classes. I'm just gonna put it all out there, and then you can reorganize it when you do your.
Sure.
The first thing that comes to mind, because I'm working on this right now, is an OpenSCAD class for programmatic 3D modeling, as opposed to SketchUp or SolidWorks or any of these others. Just because I'm a programmer and I enjoy doing that kind of thing. Nancy's classes are junior makers. What's the age range that you have?
Probably about 4 to 8.
Yeah. Junior makers. Yeah.
And so I don't really have classes per se because of my work schedule,
Yeah,
so it's kind of difficult to. It's not that I don't want to teach. It's just
You told me I don't want to do it.
I'm kind of different. I'm more of a hands-on type person. So for me, once we kind of get some of these little projects that I have.
Just bring
them
people.
done.
Just bring people into his while he's working. Just bring people in.
Yeah,
watch
and
him.
that's kind of the
I
idea.
love that.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we've been discussing is I need to get to the point or get my little projects that I'm working on, like the CNC and the 3D printer, get them to the point where they're done so normal people can use them instead of trying to tinker with it all the time.
Yeah.
And then so this way we can say, okay, Wednesday, Thursday I'm working on robot tease robotics, and so if somebody's interested in robotics, then they can come and they can say, okay, yeah. And we can work on the robots hands-on. And we can go, okay, yeah, this is the software, or and I can involve them in the project. So number one, I get somebody else the knowledge that they would need to have and the skills in working on it, and it kind of helps me get my project a little bit more forward. Because then, if it's somebody that's really interested in it, then maybe I can hand off a piece of that project to them, and then we can work on it collaboratively, which is kind of the main purpose of having maker spaces is so you can have places for people to come together so they can work on projects collaboratively. And so that's kind of how I see it. And I don't necessarily want it very structured, but everybody else wants me to have things structured. So we're still trying to figure that out and what's
The yin and the
gonna be
yang,
best
right next to
fit.
each other.
Yeah, the yin and yang part of it.
I don't think things are best learned in the classroom, like didactically,
Yeah.
lecture. It's more hands-on. That's the best way. And if you structure your classes right, you can structure it so that as the instructor, you're asking people questions that they are answering, and you're scaffolding so that the ultimate goal may be a robot, but they're not putting a robot kit together, but you're giving them the pieces, right? This is the wheel, this is the frame, this is steering, this is how the code works. These are your options for different ways that you can control your robot. Pick one. And they're solving those problems as they go. So that's how I prefer to teach that way.
Okay, guys. Would it be okay if you did a tour of the facility here?
Sure, no
All right.
problem.
Thank you.
This is our big classroom. We have computers and seating for 12 students plus. Whiteboard, projector, lots of space, and it's also our main hangout space. That's the laser, 40-watt laser.
And you have sound system.
Yes.
Just for your events, or?
Sometimes we just play music that way. Yeah. This is our other meeting room or work room. Right here, I'm putting together my Prusa printer. We have gaming systems, and this is just a space where people can hang out and work. That's where people can store their projects. This thing. This is our lovely 1978 kitchenette.
Well, it looks
popcorn maker. Yeah, just redid the plumbing so that we could actually use the space.
So what do you use the popcorn maker for?
Oh yeah, any event or anything, we just start making popcorn.
Great.
Yeah. And just office space.
Looks like a very used office.
Yep. We're in
Very
here
functional.
designing and working, and I do my teaching work in here. And yeah.
So nothing is ever complete without Yoda.
The Force and its wisdom are all around us. Ask you will a yes or no question. Sense the Force in my left hand. Press it and answer you, I will.
No thanks. This is our woodworking space. CNC is here. We're still working on building like better storage. Right when we moved in, there was another warehouse space that was vacant, but it had all this glass in it.
So we have our 2x4 CNC machine here. I'm about to start a rebuild on the shape-out code. So I'm kind of laying the parts out. And we have all kinds of tools so people can work on all kinds of different things.
Got a wire welder,
We have a
chop
regular-
saw. I haven't used your router table. Got
We have a router table.
workbench area in the back, storage. Basic woodworking tools, drill press back there. You can't see it. Air compressors, all kinds of hand tools. They're all in those plastic, an old lathe. This old guy. This is a drum that I made with my stepdad out of he had an old walnut tree. This in Lodi, California. They cut the walnut tree down and it had the burl, the big root burl. It was probably 8 feet wide. And we cut off a piece, and he has a metal lathe that is like the size of this room. And we turn this on. Wow. Yeah. Nice.
So what are you working over there on that CNC machine?
We are working on building a giant spirograph. So that was my test cut. So the giant spirograph is an 8-foot spirograph for the parking lot that draws with sidewalk chalk.
Have you made any parts at all yet? Do you have anything to?
The latest thing I did was I made these coasters.
Uh-huh.
Designed that.
Grand opening.
Yeah, car opening. In the middle is where you should definitely do your first cut, so that you waste as much wood as possible. We don't do that.
Yeah. So that's the Venus that you have
Yep, that's one
upstairs that I took a picture of as I was going down. Okay.
one slice, and I think there were about 30 different slices for that one. Workspace, computers, library.
Water. It's very important for you.
Yes.
We have water everywhere.
Bubba's friends. Bubba's like,
Was he
Wake up!
autonomous?
Here we go.
Those Dynamixels are really nice.
So we have
Servos.
two full humanoid Dynamixel premium robot cheese kits.
Yeah.
So
Bioloid, right?
yeah, that's
You got the
Bioloid.
Bioloid?
Yeah, we have two of the premium Bioloid kits. So we have those available for people to make robotics with. And so we also have another robot arm. So we have our nice little our nice little plastic arm that everybody can play with, the kids, so they won't damage it or anything. But we also have an industrial
A laser cut.
Yeah, it's a laser cut. It's from a company called U-Arm Factory, and this is based on the ABB robot arm. And the deal with the ABB design is it's very stable through its range of motion. And so they just wanted to make a smaller version so this way hobbyists and people could play with the different technologies instead of having to spend several $1,000s for a real ABB arm. And there's also a vacuum attachment, so you could use it as a pick and place machine if you wanted to. So here's our electronic working area. So we have a couple of solder stations, we have a power supply, digital power supply. We have the ability so you can reflow or do SMD rework if you needed to. We do have some small parts, resistors, diodes. We have all kinds of little fasteners so people can work on various projects. And so this is kind of our messy printer area at the moment. This is our main 3D printer at the moment. It's a PrinterBot LC Plus. So it's about a 7.8 inch build cube of objects that you're able to create in 3mm filament. And then we have a couple of 1.75 3D printers that we're working on. They were also Kickstarters. And so all of the projects are open source, so they're easily modifiable by us. And we're able to make them larger or smaller if we needed to make other iterations for our members. And so here in this room we have our kind of our crafting area, crafting room. And so we're set up at the moment. Nancy's got her glass working set up, and so people are able to work on their glass projects, and they can either make like for stained glass, fused glass. We have a kiln off-site, and so people can create their ideas here or their projects, and then we'll take them off-site and we'll do the firings, and then we'll bring it back for them. It's just because we don't have the space and the security for the kiln, because it has to be semi-actively monitored. And fusings usually take 8 hours per operation, and usually it's 2 operations, so you're looking at 16 hours per piece in order to complete a complete firing. So it's just easier for us to do it off-site instead of doing it here. And this is one of her pieces that she just created.
So that's beautiful.
And so we have another workbench like this that we need to put together, and so this way we'll have different work areas so people can work on their various projects. What's I call it, but it's basically all of the robotics and electronic projects that we haven't brought out yet for people to work on. And so we have anything from microarduinos to the Robotics kits to the make block hardware, which is basically an all metal building system. That has its special rails, kind of like Maker Slide, and so you're able to create different machines, like 3D printers. You could make your own laser diode machine if you wanted to, or you could even make your own CNC machine of the parts. And so these are kind of the kits that we have available, so people are able to try different ideas and look at different technologies.